Assalamualaikum everyone.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
Walaikum Salam.
Assalamu alaikum, ma'am.
Start one second. I'll just minimize right now. So, I need this one.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum Salam.
Assalamu alaikum.
So, Anjum ma'am, should we start?
So just give me a minute,
Yes, sir.
okay?
Okay, okay.
Ji, sir. I'm ready to go.
Should we start, Anjum ma'am?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. About time.
Okay. So I think more than 112 participants have joined. So let's
Very good.
start. So dear participants, it's my pleasure to introduce my young, agile, dynamic, trustworthy, dependable, reliable colleague, Dr. Anjum Ahmed, to introduce you people before you. Of course, she is an assistant professor in the Department of Education. She is my colleague. If you talk about her educational qualification, basically she is PhD in education and MSc in two subjects, that is botany and environmental science, and MA in one subject, that is English. Besides, she has qualified GRF, NET, and guided 4 PhD students since her appointment in the department, and more than 21 MAd dissertations she has successfully guided. So far as her publications are concerned, she has published almost 40 papers, 10 papers in national journals as well as 30 papers in international journals. She has written 2 books and has contributed 12 chapters in various edited books, and she has published 7 scales. And one thing that's very remarkable about Anjum ma'am is that she has prolifically written on COVID, in fact. So that's why, I mean, the moment the demand came from you people that you want one session on discipline and behavior management, and it was conveyed to me by your principals in the meeting that was held on 27th of May. So immediately, the first person that came to my mind was Anjum ma'am, because she has prolifically written on COVID, particularly behavior management and all those things. So the topic that has been given to her, positive discipline and behavior management, and I'm quite sure she will be able to do the justice, because she has participated in so many national and international seminars. She has been invited to deliver the lectures and resource person in more than 20 teachers training programs. And one thing that's very unique with Anjum ma'am, at such a young age, in fact, she has developed 2 MOOC courses for our SWAM platform, and one course that is on communicative and interactive English. It is just launched. I think it has been launched on YouTube, and very soon it will be available for the students. And another course on philosophical foundations of education. So that shows, in fact, her dynamism, her knowledge, and her ability to do the things, and as well as to develop the e-content. So definitely so many things are there, but we are running short of time. So if you want to know something more about Anjum ma'am, definitely you can open the web page of the department, and there you can see her CV is there. So at this juncture of time, it's 12:05, and I think with this short introduction, I should hand over the session to Anjum ma'am. So, ma'am, it's over to you. And one thing, ma'am, about my participants, they are very enthusiastic learner, in fact. So they listen very carefully, and I'm quite sure that the moment your session will be over, they will be asking very meaningful question as well. So they are interactive, and I'm quite sure you will enjoy their presence. So with this, Anjum ma'am, it's over to you.
Sure. Thank you, Sajid sir. Assalamu alaikum to all of you. Let me take a moment to thank Dr. Faiza Pasi madam for inviting me here, and Dr. Sajid Jamal sir for such a humble introduction and inviting me to deliver a lecture. In fact, it won't be a lecture here, because first thing that I have to say is that it's always a pleasure to meet the teachers and to discuss with them regarding what behavioral management is and what is positive discipline and so on. Something that we all are struggling with, something that we all are facing in our classroom. So at this particular platform, so it's like you and I, we all will be discussing about what are the basic positive discipline that we're using in classroom and the behavior management as well. So it's always a pleasure. And secondly, I would also like to congratulate all the school teachers here. You're doing a wonderful job, the way you're nurturing the students, because those very students, they're coming as undergraduate in our class, and we can see the difference. I mean, when we ask them where you did the school from, and when they say that they did from Minto Circle, from ABK boys and girls in GHS or city school, it's a really pleasure for us that how well that you're nurturing us. And another disclaimer is, because once I'm going to start my lecture, I'm also going to tell you about, see, we have to admit one thing. We are teachers, and the students that we are dealing with, the students that I'm basically dealing with, are the Gen Z generation, and the students that you will be dealing with and you are dealing with are basically the Alpha generation, and very soon the Beta generation. So that's the thing that you have to start with. That's the background that I'll be laying before. Then moreover, then in this particular presentation of mine, I'll be basically first giving you the conceptual matter of what is discipline and why did this new terminology like positive discipline came into being. Is it something different, or is it just that we have introduced a positive term in between? And then plus we'll be also identifying the key principles behind positive discipline. What are the various challenges that comes along when we talk about, bringing about the behavioral change in students? And then plus, does age matter when it comes to positive discipline? You will be also, like attending to that particular question, then demonstrating what are the effective classroom strategies. This is where I would really like, because as Sajid sir has said, that it's a very interactive group. So I will be posing few questions in between, and I would expect that the participant, they can unmute and answer, or they can, in the chat box, you can write the answers, and it will really help us to have a very informed and a very informative discussion regarding positive discipline. And lastly, we will be also looking into where can we get help when we need positive, when we want to, when we want to instill positive discipline in a classroom. So is there some kind of a professional counselor, or what is the role of counseling in behavior management? So that will be the last part of the lecture. So this is just giving you the overview. Okay, now before I begin, so should I be bilingual or English? Anything that you're comfortable with? I would like to ask my participants.
It should be bilingual.
Any language, ma'am. We are comfortable with English, Hindi, Urdu, both.
I'll be sticking to English also, and of course, bilingual Hindustani language will be also there. Because जहाँ पर हम अपने मसले मसाइल, अपनी जो दुख दर्द, जो हमारे जो एक्सपीरियंस है, जो क्लासरूम में जब हम शेयर करते हैं, तो अपनी आम जबान में हम अच्छी तरह एक्सप्रेस कर सकते हैं, right? So let's begin with this note. Now let's look into what is discipline. Now, when you look into a discipline, which is a very important virtue, and you cannot imagine a life without discipline. It's like a ship without a radar. Like how the ship without a radar, it gets lost, it's drift aimlessly. So similarly, our life without discipline, how can it have? It lacks structures, it won't have any purpose, it won't have any self-control, and we all will struggle. How are we going to set goals? What are the good decisions that we're going to take? And how can we stay on the right path? So basically, we look into that the whole discipline, it brings stability and structure into a person's life. It teaches a person to be responsible, respectful, and obviously it's promoting a good human behavior. And ultimately, we are we are contributing positively to the society as well. Now, like I said, if I want to introduce this positive, when I introduce the word positive before discipline, so it's a very comprehensive approach. It's not something new. I'll just say, because when I give you the background, you'll be so surprised to know that positive discipline has been they had been talking about it way back in 1970s and 80s. So it's a comprehensive approach in which we are basically, what are we doing? We are using discipline to teach rather than to punish, right? And which actually helps the student to succeed and thrive in the school. So if you look into the background, how did this whole concept of positive discipline came into being? So I don't know if you have heard about a very famous psychologist, Dr. Alfred Adler. Okay, so basically he gave this model of positive discipline. And the whole idea of parenting education started in the United States. Okay, it started somewhere way back in, when he gave this concept, it was somewhere in 1920s. But later on, because many people started advocating, we started running the workshop on that, we started treating students respectfully. And plus Adler also, he thought, but basically he referred the kind of parenting style we need to adopt, and that parenting style he called it, which is firm approach but friendly, and he called that as a democratic. So that was what Adlerian psychology was talking about. But when we look into 1980s, somewhere in 1980s, two important personalities, Lynn and Jane Nielsen, they basically started working on it. In fact, Jane, she was a project director of ACCEPT. ACCEPT meaning ACCEPT, that is Adlerian Counseling Concepts for Encouraging Parents and Teachers. So this is where they started working, creating workshops, started writing the books on positive discipline. And plus, they also wanted to understand, they created a manual in which there will be a different experiential activities for teachers and their students as well. So a very collaborative work has been done by them. And this is where this particular model has also given 5 criteria of positive discipline, which I will be discussing later on. So you see, this is not something very new, but we are talking about it right now because we feel the immense need to implement in our class. Now, coming to a very important question, does age matter? Now, there was this very famous, he is a famous pediatrician. He's a professor of pediatrics in Maryland, Dr. Jack Gladstone. Now, he talked about positive discipline. And what I liked about him when he talked about positive discipline is how he introduced age and how he tried to explain with age that, age does matter, right? Now, we have to understand why it matters, because see, children understand the world very differently at different ages. So, of course, the whole concept of what kinds of a rule, what kind of a choices will also depend on what age they are. For example, now if you have a 17-year-old boy who's a teenager, and he must have, if he had done something against the rule that you had set up, definitely he will be treated differently than if it's a 3-year-old child, right? Age matters, because the way you're going to discipline a 3-year-old child will be entirely different how you discipline a 17-year-old child. So let's look one by one. And so this is where it's a quick revision of your development psychology, but it's very important. Why? Because this is where we often make mistakes. Like, for example, from 0 to 6 months, it is said that this is a particular stage when the babies are just crying and howling, and that's the only way of communication. It's their innate disposition, right? The only reaction mechanism. And they can't make choices. So often what we do, and of course, with experience, the mothers, they try to differentiate between the different types of cry. But nonetheless, if you say, if your neighbors say, or if your grandparents, they say that the baby is crying too much, he needs to be disciplined or she needs to be disciplined. It is not possible, because this is the stage in which crying is the only communication, right? So by the time they reach 6 to 7 months, you know how the baby at that time, they're basically, exploring the world. Now, how are they exploring? Through their hands. They will be grabbing something and they'll be touching something. The whole exploration will be by their hand. And from 6 months to 2 years, when they learn, they crawl, they learn to walk, and their exploration will increase with increased movement. And that is where we see that they start getting into trouble. Trouble in what sense? They'll find all the ways to hurt themselves. The moment you don't look at them, they'll go straight towards the stairs, right? Or they will pull a chair, climb on the chair, they'll try to open up your medicine cabinet or go through your cosmetic drawer or put fingers in the electric socket. Very common things. So what do you do at this stage, right? We try to make the environment safe for them, right? And this is where the Algerian psychology, they said that if you want to make at this particular stage, because you can't discipline them, the only thing that you can do is make the environment safe. So you have to get down on your knees, be at that particular level and see the world and see the surrounding through the eyes of a child. Where are the possible changes we can make in the immediate environment? How can you make it more safe? And now we have so many different, you can say, gadgets and appliances are all present online. Even for the corner table, the table has a corner, you can attach something, which they don't hurt themselves with it, and so on. So basically, discipline is not required at this particular stage. They need to feel safe. Then coming to the preschool stage. Now, at the preschool stage, I'm not sure whether there are some teachers at this who are teaching preschool student or not, but then we should know what happens exactly at preschool stage, because nonetheless, even if you're not the teacher at this stage, we will be, and we are the mother of at this particular stage children. So we should understand what happens. How can we discipline at this stage? So preschool stage, we have to understand that they know what the rules are, because rules have been secretly being imbibed by observation in their homes, but they don't know whether the same rules will be applied in some other context, right? So they find it very difficult for transferring the rules. So they cannot generalize a rule from one situation to another. So it's very difficult for them to transfer. For example, I can give you an example, and I think this is something that you all can relate to. At home, when the child is eating food, the best place he eats food is in front of the television, or he's having the food with the mobile. The mother is showing the mobile, putting the food in his mouth, and he's having the food, right? So that rule probably is. That is a kind of a rule that's followed here. But when he's in the school and when he's in a day school and they're serving lunch there, he cannot move around, walk, because there he has to follow some different rule. The teacher will be asking, sit down, finish your lunch, and finish till the last bite, till the last morsel. You have to clean your plate and then get up. But at home, he's more relaxed. So you see, they often will feel that how the rules are changing, and they cannot automatically transfer the rules. So what we found is that basically they're not defined, mind you, they're not defined, they're simply unable to transfer that rule to a new setting. Now, the preschool schoolers also don't understand the difference between fantasy and how is it different from reality, because they're watching so many of cartoons and their games and so on. So anything fantasy, they're so fantasized by wearing a cape. They think that they can fly and they can jump out of the window, floor out of the window, just be a Superman or Spider-Man and so on. So they often act based on their imagination rather than logic. That's another important, very characteristic that we have to be aware of. Then at this particular stage, everything is real to them only if they can touch, they can feel, and they can see it. And even the consequences of the behavior have to be in those three things. Either they touch it, they feel it, or they see it. For example, often like if the child is, he's not studying at that time, or he's not doing any task, any chores that you would have asked him to do. So you say, okay, you're not going to the party. You're not going to any party today. So for him, at this particular stage, going to a party, because it's not happening immediately, So he might not pay attention to your words. But then if you take a toy away from him, he's very busy playing the toy and he's not eating the food. Now, when you take away something from him, he has lost the feel, lost the touch of his favorite toy, and then he understands that this is a real punishment, or that this is the real consequence of his behavior, because he was not listening to his parents, right? So this is, everything should be concrete. They can touch, they can feel, and they can see. Now coming to the school stage, the stage that you all are so familiar with. So what is the difference between a preschool and a primary school stage? So it boils down to one thing. It's all about rules. So rules basically needs to be consistent. No, they need to make sense to them. And they're very good in, and at this stage, they will understand rule only if you make them understand. That's another thing that I have to ingrain, that those will be the takeaway of my presentation also. So rules, how are they to be consistent and make sense? Plus, also it has to be applied to everybody. For example, often we say, and this is a rule that is applied to all the children, that your bedtime starts at 9 o'clock. That's the rule that you've applied at your home. But you give the reason also. If you stay up late, you'll be too tired to get up or to dress up, you'll miss your bus, right? So this is the rule they established, that you have to be on bed at 8:30 or 9. Now this the question, because at this stage you should understand the psychology of the student as of the children as well. The first question they will ask is, if I go to bed at 9 o'clock, how come my friend Maria, she goes to bed at 10 o'clock? So you see, now that's where they can't understand how rules they change in different familial climate. So you have to make them understand that every family, in every situation, we have a different kind of a rule that you have to follow, and that rule is only in this particular family, and it takes time for them to understand. And once it's in practice, that is what I said, it should be consistent. It should not be, okay, 2 days you follow the rule, the third day, okay, you get up till 10 o'clock. Or we have gone to a dinner party, we come back late, and we put the kids to sleep by 10 and 11. So they think that, okay, the rules can be broken. There is some kind of a gap in that rule, So the children, they do very well with consistent rules till they become teenagers. Now the teenage stage, okay, I've highlighted in red. This is the stage of stress, trauma, and strife. You know that it is basically even how the famous psychologists have, it is the stage of temporary insanity, right? So now the super difficult stage, you are to make the teenagers understand.
अच्छा पेरेंट्स टीचर मीटिंग हुई कौन है
Can you please mute? Yeah. So you see, at teenager stage, it becomes, because you know what teenagers are doing? They're actually naturally testing their boundaries. Because this is a part of their developing independence, because they're developing independence, their identity, and their whole critical thinking. So they don't usually break rules just to rebel. Some of them do, but they also want to explore freedom, fairness, and the whole logic behind it. So they might do that. And of course, I won't delve deep into the teenage stage, because the teenage stage, okay, it will be needing a whole new lecture for dealing with how to discipline or how to positively discipline a teenage child. So moving forward, coming to the premise of the model that I talked about, which is based on Adlerian psychology. So I gave the name of the two followers of Adlerian psychology, that is Jane Nielsen and Lynn Scott. So basically, they try to find, they try to help the people find sense of belonging and significance by these 5 criteria. And these 5 criteria is not only applicable to the children, it's also applicable at the adult level as well. So the first thing is that the positive discipline, the sense of belongingness, or the sense of significance, it helps the children feel a sense of connection. That connection is very important. Connection can be even at home, and the connection can be also at obviously in the school as well. So a child, when he comes home upset about any kind of a disagreement he has with his friend, so the parents, they have to play the part in which they have to give that those positive. Uh, they have to sound positive in the sense, they have to phrase their sentences very carefully so they don't. No, that does not cause a kind of a disengagement between the communication between the parents and the child. So they have to tell them, like, it sounds that you have a really hard time. So I'm glad that you shared it. Now let's talk about it. What happened? Okay, let's talk about what happened, what it happened, like how the whole situation, it got, escalated and things. So basically, what are we doing? We are validating the child's feeling, and we're showing that they're important and they belong. And even the classroom, I'm sure you must be doing that also, that we have to, give different kind of chores to the student. So that each child, they feel valued, they feel that they have a chance to contribute. Some can be a board cleaner, right? Some can be the class monitor, the team leader, and things like that. So rotation basis, we do that. So what is this basically doing? This is building a sense of responsibility as well. They are belonging to a community, which is the immediate class community. They need to feel belong. And this is where, as a teacher, we all have to understand that how we can help, because I know the first, the problem that we have, or it's a part of the problem, is teacher-student ratio. I agree with you, because even this is exactly what we're struggling at the higher education level as well. So this is where we have to understand how are we going to have that, create that inclusive environment, and the kind of activities we can plan out. So along the whole academic year, we do give opportunity to each and every students to participate in some kind of an activities. So this is where we really have to look into it and check out. Moreover, the second criteria, that it is mutually respectful and engaging, encouraging. So we have to be kind and firm at the same time. I know this is something as what Adlerian he talked about, democratic parents. So if you see that a child refuses to turn off the TV, and he's, instead of yelling and giving in, you say that, okay, I understand you're enjoying your show right now. So let's have a timer. Let's put a timer of 2 minutes. And after 2 minutes, when the timer goes off, you're coming to the dining table, right? Never immediately, try to just the moment that you have given the command of that chore, and you expect the children to just rush over and do that. It doesn't happen always. So we have to make sure that just give them the time limit, so they're able to finish that chore and come back quickly. Okay. The same way, if even in the classroom, if the student is talking while the teacher is teaching, this is a very common thing. So a teacher, she can keep quiet, she can walk over to the student and she can say that, I know you're very excited to share a lot of information, and I would really like to hear from you what you want to say. But let's talk after this instruction that I'm giving, or the topic that I'm discussing, and we can discuss it later on. So basically, in a very respectful tone, you have set the clear expectation, you have set the clear boundaries. So this is important for them to understand. And of course, easy said and done, it takes time. It takes time for, the whole thing to get habitual as well. Am I audible? Because here, I think we have lost the electricity. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Yes, ma'am. You
Yes,
are.
ma'am, you are audible.
Fine. So I'll continue. So the third criteria is the effect should be long-term as well. So why? Because we want to consider what the child is learning about themselves and the world, and how we can translate it. Because whatever they learn in the school, I don't want them to forget when they come in my classroom. That should be transferred here. And whatever I try to nurture in my classroom, they're able to, transfer all that learning is when they become adults and they participate in the society and they carry on with their life, right? So that connection should be there. And this is where we have to consider what the child is thinking, the feeling, the learning, how they're deciding about himself and his world. So basically, it's all about, the life skill. Here also, the long-term aspect is that when it comes to, for example, now this is where I'll be taking example of both the parents and the teachers. So instead of punishing a child for forgetting to do the homework, we usually, have a very different kind of punishments for if they have not done the homework. We can always ask them, what could help you remember your homework next time? Now let's keep a diary, or let's keep a checklist, or let's put a reminder on your phone if they're having a phone, and if they don't have the phone, let's have the reminder on my phone, and we will be see. So what is it doing? The child is learning, he's basically learning to plan and he's learning accountability rather than fear of punishment as well, right? The same way, even when the teacher is teaching in a class, a student who might be cheating on a test, a very common thing that even we experience at this particular stage. And it's best that we hold a private conversation with the student, because at that time, of course, we might be, yelling, or you might, and sometimes it so happens that when you notice this kind of misbehavior in your class, okay, if it is not an annual exam, I'm just saying a simple class test, okay, you can ask the student to come in front, sit in front, and once they're done with it, then you need to have that face-to-face talk with them. Why is that? I have noticed that you were not looking into your work and you're not concentrating, you were very distracted. What is the reason? Did you not prepare well? Or is it something at home, or is it something that you did not understand? So that face-to-face interaction is important, because this is where the children or the students, they learn about honesty, self-management, and trust. Am I audible? I don't know whether you lost the connection or not.
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Yes,
Oh,
ma'am.
thank you for ensuring that.
You're audible.
Okay. Now, also, I find that positive discipline also teaches social and life skills as well, right? So basically, we do find that, and this is a very common phenomenon we find at home, even in schools, how two siblings are fighting, right, over probably a common toy. So now the only intervention that a parent or a teacher can do is that ask them, let's practice taking turns, right? Timer, set a time for 5 minutes for you, and let's switch over the toy when the 5 minutes are over, right? So we need to be fair. They need to learn negotiation, fairness, and patience as well. And it comes right from the early stage, right from the beginning, when they learn to share, when they learn. So because this is where they'll be developing respect, concern for others, and so on. Plus, inviting children to discover how capable they are. So basically, what are we doing? We're making them autonomous, giving them the personal power. And the best example I can give is how the children, they learn to tie the shoelace, right? And how you're giving them the autonomy. Let them tie, let them tie in any way they want, and you can correct them later on. Every time you're tying the shoelace, even when they're in 4th and 5th grade, this is not correct, right? Because right from the stage, right from the preschool, we have to teach them, teach them autonomy and how they're supposed to lead a life, and we can give them example how they're supposed to organize their notebooks, and how to set up a system which helps them to manage. So over time, we find that the students, they will take ownership and they will feel capable. That is important. When you feel capable, you feel the sense that you belong somewhere, you can contribute somewhere, you feel significant. And that is where what Jane Nielsen and Lynn Slott, they talked about, that these are the five criteria on which the positive discipline actually works. Moreover, because when they were developing this whole concept of positive discipline, they talked about some other key points which are very relevant in the classroom. For example, community building is important, because the whole program, it fosters a sense of community. So we can start by having a class meeting, I'm sure you must be having some kind of a zero period or things like that. So we just have a class meeting where students, they just come together, share their thoughts, compliment one another on anything, bring up their concern in a very respectful way. The same thing we can practice at home. After dinner, the dinner table talks we can have. So even that home connection, the family meeting, is very important, because it fosters the same sense of inclusions and value, right? Then coming to the life skill, because positive discipline equips students with essential life skills, and life skills such as problem solving, communication, self-regulation, and many more. We can add many more to it. So these skills are not only beneficial in the classroom, but also in the real life situations. So if the students, like I just saw just the other day when I was researching on this topic, I saw how a teacher, she was trying to solve a conflict in her class between two students. So they had a table in the class which was known as the peace table, P-E-A-C-E, peace table. And it was there in the corner. Anytime you fight, you don't stand and fight and yell at one another. The moment they get engaged, she asked the participants who are engaged in that conflict, go and sit at the peace table. You sit across one another. When you sit, be calm and have normal conversation. Communicate your concern, communicate your problems, and share it very calm. And this is when they learn to listen one another, and they also suggest a compromising situation as well. Moreover, we have also seen how positive discipline, it aims to improve academic achievement. Because just imagine, you are a teacher, you are in a class, and you have made sure that you have implemented positive discipline. You have made the environment safe and engaging for the student. So they're likely not to think about conflicting situation, not to get engaged in it. And of course, they won't be distracted by it, and they will excel more in academic. Why? Because they're able to concentrate more and retain more and have good memories of the teaching learning process. Then, of course, the training option as well, how we, like just a platform like this, we do need a training option for the teachers also. So this is where everyone, even I'll be grabbing my pen and paper, because I'll be asking you questions and I'll be getting the inputs from you also regarding how you are managing the positive discipline in your class, and we'll be sharing it. So with this platform like these help us in basically discussing the practical problems that we face in the classroom. And also the parent-school connection. Can you imagine if we are taking care of kids 6 hours a day and the rest of the time they're spending at home, and there is no connection between what is happening at home and when they're coming next morning? It's so difficult for you to make them understand. This is what I said. How can you make them understand the rules? How can you make them understand what discipline is? If there's a you can say, pulls apart reality between what is happening at their home and what is happening at the school. That compatibility has to be there. And that compatibility can only come if we include parents in this whole teaching learning process as well. So we need to develop that kind of and see, even we as parents, how many times do we really make it a point that both mother and father, they reach parents teacher meeting, attend to your students' problem? It's the only thing that we discuss is the grades. Other than that, why don't we discuss something else? Why don't we discuss about the behavior, about the kind of thing? Even the teachers at that time, they have to have that comprehensive, report on what they're going to say about that particular child. So that connection is important, because sometimes the problem arises at home, but it can be solved at this particular platform as well when they're interacting with the teachers as well. So basically, we have seen that this parent-school connection, it also reduces a lot of tantrums at homes, and also because when you mirror the same thing, like class meeting, which is mirroring the family meeting at home, then you find the difference, how positive discipline is actually coming into play. Now coming to the key principles of positive disciplines. Now the first principle that I will be talking about is the mutual respect. How positive discipline focuses on the principle of treating children with respect. So every time you start, see, positive discipline comes with positive language. That's one thing that you have to remember. Discipline, the language, the choice of word, your tone should be very important, how you're communicating respect to the students as well. So even if you're irritated, that should not show. Your non-verbal cues and your the tone, everything should be perfectly aligned when you're talking to a child. So if he has not submitted the assignment, not submitted the homework, you start with a sentence like, I notice it's been hard for you to remember submitting your homework. It could be really stressful for you. So let's think about a way where we can keep a track of when to submit homework. So can you suggest something? So there are many things that you can put on the children, on the student themselves, and they will come with very varying suggestions regarding how they're able to keep track of their homework or keep track of their academic tasks and different things as well. Plus, this is something that you and I have to understand very well, that there's a very common fallacy or a false belief or a wrong idea that the children should automatically respect their parents. Where does this word automatic come from? It's not genetically ingrained in the DNA. This is where how they're imbibing from the environment, what they're noticing as the looking into the adult, the parents and the teachers, how are they participating in the whole positive discipline? It's a very important aspect. So we think, just remove it from your mind that we assume that the children should automatically know how to respect the parents, how to respect the teacher and other people in the position of authorities. So we find that there is we're not supposed to teach them, they're supposed to know themselves. So here I would like to just give an example, that this is the example of modeling, how we have to be modeling each and every aspect that we want to see in our students as well, right? So modeling, for example, how we are showing respect, and it begins, of course, first with the parents. Let's not forget that it begins first with the parents, and then, of course, with the teachers, because that's the second climate that we need to be familiar with. So they invite the students to reciprocate. Now, how does it work? That is the thing that I want to highlight here. If you have heard about mirror neurons, there's a lot of, you can say, researches have been done on mirror neurons, and many researchers have talked about mirror neurons, and they have said that mirror neurons, what they did is they did an experiment on monkeys. They, of course, wired the monkey. The brain was wired and it was attached to a machine. And when the monkey was wired, when he was eating peanuts, the brain fired up. That means we got a reading from the brain on that particular device, right? So after some time, when the researcher, he walked in and he picked up those peanuts and he started eating the peanuts, monkey, noticing that the whole area of that brain started firing up again, right? Because now he wanted to imitate what the researcher is doing. So he tried to, establish that connection, that how I felt satisfied with eating peanuts, the same way that particular researcher is also feeling satisfied. So it fired up the same area in the brain. So this is where they said that there is something which is known as mirror neurons. We try to replicate what we are looking into. So in fact, there are many psychologists and educators who are working in this particular field of positive discipline. They don't say that there is any word as bad children. कभी नहीं कहते, हम लोग कितने कहते हैं बच्चा बहुत naughty है and is a troublesome, सारे adjective उसके आगे लगा देते हैं. It's not the bad children. They said reframe it. It's the bad behavior. So good behavior, bad behavior. And what do? Good children and bad children. This is where they don't want to give that terminology of good and bad. So anytime that you want to discuss with the parents, or you don't say that your child is bad. In some circumstances, your child behavior was not appropriate. That's the way you have to communicate. All children are good, but in certain circumstances, the behavior changes. Then coming teaching and not punishing, you have to understand and how you have to basically, positive discipline will be emphasizing teaching children appropriate behavior, and how parents also act as a guide to understand what to do and encourage them to make positive choices. So the same way, like I gave you the example, that even in the class at home, whenever they do something good, right? So give them the opportunity to celebrate those kind of an achievement. So those tasks for them should be easily achievable. So once they achieve the task, you have something good to say about them. Same way, even in the class, you catch those moments in the those at home or in the class where the children are doing something right, and then you can easily praise them, and you can talk to them positively. And that positive language will, of course, give way or pave way to positive discipline. Then coming to encouraging problem solving. So just like I said, that problem solving are life skills for children. They learn best by doing themselves. So this is where you have to give them some kind of independence also. So ask them and see. There was another researcher, I just remember, she said that when she asked the students, a very common question she asked, like, are you in control of your learning process? Or so the answer that the students gave is no, we are not in control. It is the administrators who control our learning process, or it is the teachers who control our learning process. And the very same question when she asked the teachers, and I think you will also agree with them. So the teachers, they replied that no, we give a lot of autonomy to our students. The students are in control of the whole learning process. So what the researcher came to a conclusion is that there is a perception gap here. The students are thinking they're not in control of the learning process, and the teachers are thinking that we're giving a lot of autonomy to them. So where is this gap? We have to fill in that particular gap, right? Then coming consistency also, which is a key to a success positive discipline. And we have to understand that consistency, we have to be, of course, don't be hard on ourselves also. We are not perfect all the time, right? But we can learn. That is the thing. It's a learning process for us as well, that we learn and perfectly consistent in our behavior. And we try to showcase a positive discipline environment as well. Then coming to the connection, how the connection is building a strong emotional connection with the kids and with the teacher. This all comes at the heart of positive discipline as well. And basically, they're more likely, once there is a connection, they will run or they will be more attached to us. And even as a teacher, you can ask yourself, how close am I to my students? How do they feel? Do they at least talk to me? I mean, every morning, now this is where, I don't know if it happens in the school. It doesn't happen in our schools, but it happens in the schools abroad. The teacher is usually the first one in the class, and then the students, they're coming in. So the teacher is greeting them at the gate. She's talking to them, good morning, Anaya, come and sit here. How was your day today? And how was it, or how are you feeling? Yesterday you had a headache. Are you feeling fine? Just a small talk at the door, and you're welcoming the children in your class. So this is the environment that you create, where you stand and where you try to invite the students. And because once you know your students, there will be a lot of things to talk about. That's the thing. Because we think, what should I talk about with my students? Because that connection is just not there. And connection, it reduces defiance. Because what is happening? The students, they're emotionally invested in that particular relationship. And when any challenge arises, the students are more open to correction, they're more open to feedback as well. So moving forward, now this is a question for you. Adler has said that a misbehaving child is a discouraging child. I repeat, a misbehaving child is a discouraging child. So do you agree with it, and can somebody shed a light on this?
No, ma'am.
Okay. See,
No,
so
ma'am, never.
when we're talking about
A
misbehavior,
misbehaving child is never discouraging.
Actually, it has a hidden meaning. If the child is discouraged in somewhere else, that is the reason behind. That's why he is misbehaving.
right. This is what Adler has said. See, when a child misbehaves, it's not because they're bad, just like what I said earlier, but because they feel disconnected. Once they feel disconnected, they don't know how to get a positive attention or influence, or they feel powerless, and then they become discouraged. So it's a process that happens. So similarly, we find that misbehavior is a signal. It is not the core problem. It is a symptom of a deeper need. Like often you must have seen in your class, there must be a child or a student. If you're asking a question, he shouts in the class, right? he's basically the class clown, I should say, because he wants to seek that particular attention, or he's mocking other students, or he's distracting his classmate. So what it seems like is that he's being very disrespectful. But what is actually happening is that particular child might feel unseen, incapable of succeeding academically, or he might not be having a lot of friends. He might be feeling very insecure in the peer relationship. So this is where you have to hunt for the cause of misbehavior and don't attack the symptoms. So what happens is the children, they want a misbehavior child is a discouraged child, which reminds us that the children want to behave well when they feel secure. जहाँ आपने बिल्कुल एक safe environment create करा है, immediately you see a behavioral change occurring in them, and they feel so connected and they feel so safe. And misbehavior is often their imperfect way of communicating the unmet need. जो needs satisfy नहीं होती हैं, and they find different kind of imperfect way जिससे वो communicate करते हैं, and this is where we try to label them as misbehaving. And इसी को हम कहते हैं कि he is a bad child, और bad or good child को हम इसी तरह differentiate करते हैं. So discipline shows focus on teaching, connection, encouraging, and not punishment, not punishing as well. Now on that particular note, punishment. Because जब हम बात कर ही रहे हैं डिसिप्लिन की, तो पनिशमेंट की भी पता होना चाहिए. What is punishment? Punishment के purview में क्या क्या चीजें आती हैं, right? Now to understand positive discipline clearly, so if you want to understand punishment, so punishment is basically a consequence, and हम any action that we are doing in order to reduce कोई भी undesirable behavior या inappropriate behavior को reduce करना है, so we try to punish them verbally, physically or psychologically. राइट, पेनाल्टीज देंगे, रिस्ट्रिक्शंस लगाएंगे, रेप्रीमेंट करेंगे, कुछ एक्स्ट्रा उनको ऐसा काम देंगे जिससे उनको एहसास हो कि whatever work they have done, whatever action of theirs was inappropriate. So using this kind of a punishment is basically, we find that it kind of hampers the emotional, psychological well-being. And of course, harsh punishment अब तो खैर बिल्कुल allowed ही नहीं है किसी तरह का punishment देना. And even if we're not using physical punishment, because we are not doing that in our schools, but we might be using verbal, because we think that it's not being recorded, or we might be using psychological, that is more emotional punishment, that is more unseen, hidden kind of a thing. So even if you look at the effects of this kind of a thing, the moment you use these, you weaponize these kind of a thing, it increases anxiety and fear. The children immediately, आप देखेंगे कि उनका self-esteem reduce हो रहा है, एक hostility develop हो रही है, एक resentment develop हो रहा है for the teachers, for the authority, and even the peer group. And because that resentment is there, they don't perform academically well, their motivation nahi hai, and ultimately it leads to a lot of aggression and defiance, rebellion. बहुत देर बाद जब आप कॉन्फ्लिक्ट रेजोल्यूशन के ग्राफ देखेंगे ना, तो वो जे ग्राफ जो होता है ना, जब एस्केलेशन होता है तब पता चलता है कि ओके, देयर वाज समथिंग रॉन्ग विद दिस चाइल्ड. So he was not able to have that kind of, he did not feel connected, he did not feel significant, because he might be having some damaged relationship with the peers, he might be under chronic stress. अब आपको पता है, जो बच्चे मुस्तकिल इस तरह में के पनिशमेंट में मुब्तला होते हैं, verbal or psychological, you find that they have physiological problem as well. So the physiological problem would be that they might be facing problems like
You are on mute, ma'am.
Ma'am, mute her. You are not audible, ma'am.
You are not audible.
Am I audible right now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, you are audible now.
Okay. I don't know what happened.
You are not audible.
Ma'am, you are on mute.
You are not audible, ma'am.
Okay, I've seen that. Just wait.
You are not audible, ma'am.
Huh,
Yeah.
huh, huh, huh.
Ma'am, you are not audible.
I
You are
got your
mute.
message. Uh-huh. Is it fine?
You are audible, ma'am. You are audible.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Now I'm audible, right? Fine. Okay. So कहाँ पे हम लोग regarding the different kind of punishment, what it causes the stress in the children, and the different kind of even their coping mechanism. आजकल बच्चे stress को manage करने के लिए कितने non-adaptive coping mechanism है. झूठ बोलना शुरू करते हैं. They try to avoid aggressive. Substance abuse, after drug abuse, it's a common feature bhi ho gaya hai. It is readily available also, and they get indulge in all this kind of a thing. So we have to understand how this whole thing is happening, and plus also the negative attitude of the, you can say, towards the education as well. So moving forward, yeah, I'll be coming on video management. This is a later part, because there's so many things that I have to discuss with you. So positive discipline as well. So see, behavior management is basically talking about different strategies and techniques which actually helps to promote a positive behavior and discipline. It's quite related to and attached with positive discipline management, because here in the behavior management, it's a whole process with the learners, they need positive.
Ma'am, you're not
Choice.
audible.
I'm not audible, but my mic is still audible. It's mute. It's not muted.
You are not audible.
Ma'am, your voice is
I'm
breaking.
not able to listen, ma'am.
You are audible, ma'am.
I think it could be some internet connection. I think you have to check your internet connectivity, because here some participants are saying that I'm audible. Okay. So when it coming to the clear expectation, see, we have
You are
to
audible, but the
understand
voice is
how
distorted.
that could be because of the internet connectivity. Probably it will be solved in a while. Let's hope. So coming to the components of behavior management, we have to understand that first we have to set clear expectation. We have to set rules. We have to understand, make the students understand what is expected out of them. Give them positive reinforcement wherever possible, and especially for children. For small children, we do that. We give them the star for good behavior, or if they have behaved very well for the entire week, they did excellent job, they have a name on their board, on their blackboard, or some kind of a bulletin board as well. And whatever it is, whatever consequences of the behavior, it should be fair, it should be age appropriate, and it should be clearly communicated to the student. Consistency is the key here. And of course, open and effective communication becomes the backbone of any successful behavior management. Now, this is a question for you, because now I'll take a short break, and I'm just waiting for the water to come. So now you tell me, what are the different types of challenging behavior that you experience in your class? You can also unmute and say, or you can type it in the chat box so we can have a look at the different kind of challenging behavior. Because I'm sure you must have faced those. Okay, I will start with a few of the challenging behavior. The first challenging behavior is that students, they talk too much. They're very talkative. Or they challenge authority. Okay, they're the two that I have given, that they talk too much. That's a very common challenging behavior we face, or they are challenging the authority. Can you name some other challenging behavior in your classrooms?
Ma'am,
Yes,
my
ma'am.
name is
Assalamu
Aisha Khan. I am from
alaikum.
ABK. Assalamu alaikum, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, excessive movement in the class, restlessness.
Oh, true. Restlessness is one thing. Good. You can
Assalamu
type
alaikum,
here.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Restlessness.
Dr. Farhat Parveen from AMU ABK High School Girls. I face the challenge that the students, they are reluctant to speak. They almost they refuse to speak and interact in the class.
Actually,
Right,
ma'am,
right.
I'm
So you
Sadia
can
Khalil
say,
from MTS. Actually, ma'am, I teach in both mediums, English and Urdu medium, and I realized that the Urdu medium students have already accepted that they are not up to the mark, and they are not ready to learn because they have been told or by someone, or they have been just inculcating that thing that you are not up to the level of the English medium students, so you are not able to just suppose stop the school, or you are not able to learn the things quickly, so they are not just they are not trying at their best. I have been
true.
observing
So
this
you
for
could
a
say
long time.
it's basically lack of self-esteem, right? There's a lack of self-esteem, or you can say another point that I would probably, it will help you to recollect. Negativity is also somewhere or the other there in students. They're very critical. They don't see
I
the
have been
positive
working
things.
on this behaviorism, ma'am, since long time. And I used to say that in language is no bar. You can do what the others are doing. And I used to inculcate the habit of learning in any language. Your intellectuality matters, your knowledge matters, your wisdom matters. Language is no bar to get success in life. But I have been observing that they are just studying in Urdu medium section, and they have just made their mind that they are not able to do well in their studies. So I have been doing yeah, ma'am, I have been doing work on this one, and I used to talk that who told you all these things, that
Ma'am, I just want to state one thing. The trauma or stress of speaking in English, ma'am, this is a struggle with, like, most of the students, and they feel anxious about making mistakes. This is the prime thing, like, what I have experienced.
True, true. Anything else?
actually, ma'am, I used to tell them also that if you will not speak wrong, you cannot speak right. We do commit in our mother tongue. Nobody just make fun of us. So why you are just having a problem in speaking English? Just speak up. Whatever you are speaking,
बिल्कुल
you will just make your
क्योंकि जब
correction
कम्युनिकेशन
yourself.
सी मैंने क्या बताया था आपको कनेक्शन इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट जब कनेक्शन ही डिसएंगेजमेंट है बिकॉज ऑफ लैंग्वेज बैरियर और इट कुड बी एन नंबर ऑफ थिंग्स देन दे आर नॉट एबल टू फील दैट सेंस ऑफ बिलोंगिंग वो सिग्निफिकेंट अपनी अहमियत नहीं समझ पा रहे हैं कि उनके वजूद उनकी सेल्फ आइडेंटिटी कितनी इंपॉर्टेंट है मोर मैं और भी आपको थोड़ा पॉइंट्स इसलिए लिख रही हूँ ताकि आपको थोड़ा रिकलेक्ट करें ब्रेनस्टॉर्मिंग सेशन टाइप हो कि कौन कौन से और चैलेंजिंग बिहेवियर हो सकती है sometimes we also face a lot of drama also in the class. You can also say कि इतना heightened emotions होते हैं, lot of exaggerated fabricated story. हाँ जी.
Ma'am, I want to add one more actually.
And yes, one more thing. हाँ बताइए.
Ma'am, I have found sometime that like even though the children know the answers, they are not ready to answer in the class. Even though they are very bright, they are very intelligent, they know the answer very well, and we being teachers, we know that they know the answer, but still they didn't answer us. I don't know why.
It could be, see, that's the thing.
Lack of concentration.
Ma'am, actually, I teach at
Assalamu alaikum, ma'am.
Assalamu
alaikum, ma'am.
Maybe they are having certain issues from their family life or certain personal things like that, or their other matters like
empathetic. The lack of emotion. That is नहीं कि टीचर के कोई भी कहने पर, प्रिंसिपल के कोई भी कहने पर, पेरेंट्स के कहने पर, they don't feel a thing. मतलब ना डांट,
Physically they are present in the class, but mentally they are out of the class. Physically they are present in the class.
समझ रहे, प्यार को प्यार समझ रहे. हाँ.
Ma'am, actually they sit in the class. Yes, ma'am is right that they are physically present, but they are mentally somewhere
They're
else.
distracted.
Usually.
You can also see that they're self-absorbed as well. खासों से जो सिंगल चाइल्ड होता है उसको बहुत पैम्पर करके रखते हैं, तो उसको लगता है कि now he is the perfect person in the class, he knows everything and he has the तो उसके अंदर कोई ना खौफ होता है ना कोई डर होता है. Why? Because he has been brought up and groomed up in that particular manner. What else? We have lack of motivation also. Yes.
Assalamualaikum, ma'am.
Of others.
Ma'am, I want to share one challenging behavior with you, ma'am, which I have observed. I am Tahmia Ashraf from City Girls High School. Ma'am, I have observed one challenging behavior of one student that she want to show just like with their body language, ma'am, she want to show that she just ignoring to the teacher. मतलब हाँ मुझे नहीं सुनना, मुझे नहीं करना, आप जो कह रही हो मतलब I don't care about you. Ma'am, that behavior is very annoying to the teacher. With her body language, with their eyes or with the mouth, ma'am, just like that, with their hands, ma'am. She doing like this, and this challenging behavior is very annoying to the teachers. Now, how we can handle this behavior?
And it's quite common, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. One more thing I would like to say that
कुछ बोल नहीं रहे, उनके non-verbal cues are giving them the signals. Yes.
जी अस्सलाम वालेकुम मैम.
हेलो मैम, अस्सलाम वालेकुम. ओके मैम, अस्सलाम वालेकुम.
आपको कुछ और भी
मैम विजुअली, यस मैम.
हाँ वालेकुम सलाम.
मैम अस्सलाम वालेकुम. Ma'am, visually challenged students often feel that they don't need to study science after class 11. So they don't show much interest in subject. And this makes it very difficult to teach them. Ma'am, जो visually challenged students रहते हैं, वो हमेशा उनको रहता है कि हमें क्लास 11th में साइंस नहीं लेनी. और मैम वो बिल्कुल भी क्लास में इंटरेस्ट नहीं शो करते. तो मतलब उस केस में हम लोग क्या करें?
बिल्कुल. I agree. Right. Okay, I'll be taking. अच्छा है कि आप लोग बताते भी जा रहे हैं. I'm just taking. I'm noting down the questions. Okay. So visually challenged, interest in science, right? This is one question that came up. Inshallah, I'll be attending soon. Okay. Other than that, any other behavior? Because I'm still on the challenging behavior.
Yes, ma'am. This is Shibra.
Yes, ma'am. I just want to discuss one thing. Ma'am, I just want to discuss one thing: disruptive behavior from the students' end, talking out of turn, and they make noise while talking and they interrupt others. This is like, I've been experiencing.
एक साथ सब बोलेंगे. They don't wait for the other
True,
person
ma'am.
to finish the sentence. है ना? मतलब जो etiquettes होते बोलने के, क्यों? क्योंकि उनके घर का, I won't say घर का माहौल, because right from the beginning they have been seeing that. उनको इतनी opportunity दी
We can't say that, ma'am.
And the thing is that the opportunities इतनी दी जा रही है कि they don't learn the etiquettes of communications. This is the right word to say. They don't learn. But एक चीज मैं आपको बताऊं. I know most of you might totally disagree with it, but this is those people who are working with elder concept, Elderian psychology. उन्होंने कहा है कि behind every oppositional defiant child, मतलब कोई भी बच्चा जो बिल्कुल extreme misbehavior या defiant उसका behavior है, there is a controlling parent behind it. I don't know. This is the statement that Alder has given, that behind, I repeat again, that behind every oppositional defiant child or defiant or disordered child, this is the term we use, there is a controlling parent. So sometimes, no, I have to say
I
this,
agree with
our
you, ma'am.
parenting style also, there is, because
ma'am.
see, that is the first environment that I've seen. Ji, बोलिए.
अस्सलाम मैम, आई एम फ्रॉम सीनियर सेकेंडरी स्कूल गर्ल्स। मैम ज़्यादातर ये देखने को मिला है कि बच्चे आपस में दे इवन डोंट वांट टू इंटरेक्ट विद ईच अदर, दे डोंट नो द नेम्स ऑफ देयर पेयर स्टूडेंट्स। तो इसकी क्या वजह है मैम? जैसा मुझे लगता है कि जैसे या तो उनके पास एक मोबाइल एक ऐसा एसेट है कि दे डोंट वांट टू शेयर एनीथिंग विद अदर्स, और या ये हमारे अपनी फैमिली वैल्यूज भी कुछ ऐसी हैं कि हम अपने बच्चों से उतना इंटरेक्ट हो नहीं रहे हैं, उनको उस तरह की अपब्रिंगिंग में कुछ हमारे मिसिंग है। क्या ये एक पार्ट है मैम?
My God, I know, you're absolutely true. ये कुछ true. Oh my God, no, you're absolutely true. ये कुछ चीज हम सब ने महसूस किया ever since, I think जो टीचर्स जिन लोगों का एक्सपीरियंस 20-25 साल का है, वो आराम से बता सकते हैं कि कोविड के बाद का जो ये किन किन एरियाज में करना है। वी डू फाइंड आजकल बच्चे इवन देयर व्हेन यू लुक इवन दैट द वॉल्यूम सो लाउड, उनको सॉफ्टली बात करना ही नहीं आता है, चीख कर बात करेंगे, नो दे विल हैव दैट लाउड एंड दे विल बी एंड व्हेन दे आर लाउड only then they can feel that they have control over the situation. घर में भी they're speaking so loudly, even if they're speaking to their parents, to grandparents, to anybody, the pitch is always high. So definitely, we do find that there is something that we have to consider all these different types of challenging behavior. Ji, Razia ma'am, I'll be taking your that question right at the end. We still have time, 20 minutes, because इतना अच्छा आप लोगों से input जो मुझे मिल रहा है regarding challenging behavior.
Assalamu alaikum, ma'am.
So I will, Simi madam, right?
Yes, ma'am. I am from ABC Boys. I have a question that I have seen many times that students avoid eye contact. They avoid eye contact. Like, if the teacher want to ask something, they show that no, they are not interested. Like, um, they are not making direct visual contact with others, either teacher or their peer. Shyness, we can say, what I have concluded that being reserved or hesitant to participate in social situations that make that kind of behavior develop in the students. I just want you to um, speak upon that. Some
In with one another. Is that so?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, am I audible?
Hello, am I audible?
Ma'am, you are audible.
You are audible,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
What happened?
Hello, ma'am.
Am I audible? I don't know if I'm audible or not.
Yes,
You are
ma'am.
audible, ma'am.
Ma'am, we can't see you and the screen is not being shared.
Okay, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Yes,
yes.
yes, ma'am. Now you
Yes,
are
ma'am,
audible.
you're
Now you are
audible, but
audible.
we cannot
जी
hear
जी
you, ma'am.
Ma'am, you are audible. Now you are audible.
हाँ हाँ ठीक है
Ma'am, we can't see
ठीक है।
you.
वो एक्चुअली पता नहीं आज आज इत्तेफाक से कुछ कनेक्शन प्रॉब्लम हो गई है, तो जिसकी वजह से आई एम सो सॉरी दैट यू नॉट डिसकंटिन्यूटी है लेक्चर में. So yes, Simi madam was asking a question regarding that the students they don't maintain eye contact, है ना, एक दूसरे को देखते
Yes,
नहीं
ma'am.
है, है ना, is it so?
Yes,
आप यही
yes, ma'am. With the teachers
see
also.
वही बात जो अभी
Shyness.
हाँ अभी जो मैंने आपको बताया that it's we really have to work on the communication skill कि students को किस तरह communicate करना है, and that will start like I said it starts right at home because जब बच्चे बोलना सीखते हैं उस वक्त आप क्या क्या चीजें आप उस वक्त उसमें आप उनके परवरिश में you're making it a point that they're learning. See एक छोटा एग्जांपल मैं देखती हूँ. जब छोटे बच्चे रहते हैं they pick up on very cute words, है ना, और आपको पता है the word shit कॉमन होता है उनकी लैंग्वेज में. अरे अब बड़े बड़े बच्चे बोल देते हैं और ये भी नहीं एहसास होता है कि अपनी अम्मा के सामने बोल रहे हैं, टीचर के सामने बोल रहे हैं. एक 2 साल की बच्ची या 1 year टॉडलर who has just learned to walk एकदम से वो गिरता है या वो गिरती है and he or she अपने तोतली जबान में they use the word, they say shit and everybody is laughing. हाँ हाँ कितना it sounds so cute, right? Why? We are giving the positive reinforcement to them. We are laughing. We are rewarding them. जब यही बच्चे जब बड़े होते हैं and they use this kind of a language in front of others, then it really and then we want to use kind of a environment at that point. नहीं बेटा, you're not supposed to say like that. And हमारी जबान तो खुद ही आ रहे हैं वो अल्फाज. So you see, you have to be very careful because see, modeling what mirror neurons I talked about exactly. This is where our role is coming into play. Before I attend to the last question of Razia ma'am, एक सवाल मैं आपसे फिर पूछती हूँ. Last question. अगर आपके students 20-25 साल बाद आपसे मिलने आते हैं, okay? Now you tell me what are the qualities that you want your children or your students to have at that particular age of when let's say 25-30 years. बताइए क्या क्वालिटीज आप देखना चाहते हैं?
Happy and satisfied with
Assalamu
life.
alaikum, ma'am. I'm Breen Rahman from AMU City Girls High School, ma'am. I want to see in my student that well behaved, well disciplined, and more important thing is, ma'am, more respectable for everyone, every person, every teacher, everyone, ma'am. मैं अपने हर एक स्टूडेंट के अंदर आज भी यही तलाश करने की कोशिश करती हूँ कि वो अपने उस्ताद का, अपने बड़ों का कितना अदब और एहतराम करते हैं. क्योंकि मैम अगर अदब और एहतराम नहीं है अपने से बड़ों के लिए तो जिंदगी कभी कामयाब नहीं हो सकती है. और मैं हमेशा
Excuse me,
यही
ma'am.
सिखाने की कोशिश करती हूँ कि प्लीज बी डिसिप्लिन, बी अ गुड पर्सन. अगर हम अच्छे इंसान हैं तभी कामयाब हैं.
Ma'am,
Be a good person.
I'm Sara Siddiqui from Abdullah School. I want to see my students to be very confident and obviously successful.
Confidence, successful. Anybody else? और कौन सी qualities आप
Hello,
देखना
ma'am.
चाहते हैं?
Yes, ma'am. I'm Sadia Nasir from Sayyid Hamid Senior Secondary School. I want my students that when they grow up, they should develop decision making. They should have ability to take proper decisions and bold decisions.
बिल्कुल. Decision making capacity should be there. They should be lifelong learners. है ना? और बताइए.
Excuse me, ma'am. Ma'am, I have one question.
जी.
I'm Sara Siddiqui. Ma'am, we talk about yes, I'm from Abdullah School. Yes, ma'am. I believe that child's behavior is actually the reflection of their uh, home environment, whatever they are facing there. So, how much it is important? I believe that counseling of parents is very important in this regard because many a times we feel these challenges in the classroom that a child is willing, yes, is able to do the work, he's interested, he or she, but they are not getting enough support from the parents or from their home.
True. देखिए मैंने जो सवाल पूछा था पार्टली जवाब आप ही नहीं दिया इसका। मैंने क्यों पूछा ये सवाल, इसलिए पूछा कि जो भी क्वालिटीज आपने अभी बताए हैं, can you ask yourself whether you have modeled those qualities or not as a parent or as a teacher? है ना, ये चीज सवाल तो हमें अपने आप से पूछना है. Why do we think that the children should automatically learn all these things? Where is the modeling coming from? So the whole concept of where they're going to start will start with, of course, with the parents and all. And दूसरी बात मैं आपको बताऊं, when it comes to stress, managing stress, एक positive discipline में अपनी म्यूट कर दीजिएगा. देखिए, पॉजिटिव डिसिप्लिन में आप ये देखिएगा, इट्स अ विन विन सिचुएशन. इट्स नॉट ओनली द विन सिचुएशन फॉर द स्टूडेंट्स, हम लोगों के लिए भी विनिंग सिचुएशन है. वी आर कीपिंग अ काम, हमारा कंपोजर है, वी वांट टू मेंटेन आवर पीस, प्लस वी आर आल्सो गेटिंग अ पॉजिटिव रिस्पांस फ्रॉम द स्टूडेंट्स. तो ये हमारे लिए भी है. सो बिकॉज एंड अनदर वेरी, इसमें ये बातों में बात ही निकल आई है. तो एक है डॉक्टर डैनियल सिगविन, उन्होंने बहुत खूबसूरती से एक कॉन्सेप्ट एक्सप्लेन किया है. He talked about how our brain works. So if you look at he showed this hand, now you can see my hand, right? Now he said that put your finger here across your palm and put your fingers on top. Close it. Now if you look at in this, it's almost like a brain, our brain. So this is where the frontal cortex is. This is where the brainstem, and this is where the spinal cord is. And deep seated inside is our emotional limbic system, the animalistic system, right? Now what happens is when we see any kind of a misbehavior in a child, or we see any inappropriate situation, the thinking brain, the lid opens, it flips open, and our emotional part gets hold of it, and all our decision making process is taken by this limbic system. And then later on, after we shout, after we yell, after we give the punishment, our thinking brain, it engages again with the emotions, and we start thinking. And this is where the guilt, it starts to kick in. कभी आपने देखा है डांटने के बाद आपको कितना बुरा लगता है, रात को नींद नहीं आती आपको कि मैंने अपने बेटे को क्या कह दिया. टीचर अपने स्टूडेंट को डांटने के बाद एक गिल्टिंग, आपको ना खाने में चैन, ना सोने में चैन, नमाज भी पढ़ने तो आपको सो डिस्ट्रैक्टेड कि मैंने ऐसे क्यों कहा. Why? This was the disengagement. And day and day, if you try to behave like this, आपसे क्या हो रहा है, सारे relationships are suffering because of that. And this is what the students are noticing, that your children are noticing this. So for them, getting this engagement with our emotions and keeping a peace and keeping a calm is very important. And this is because this was the last example that I wanted to give you, because this is every time. I mean, we as parents are experienced that, we as teachers are experienced. So always remember, keep your lid on, keep the thinking brain engaged with the emotion part, and we're not supposed to take any kind of natural emotionally. Best होता है उस situation को थोड़ी देर अब दूर हो जाए. I remember there was a teacher who was working with special education, specially differently abled children. और आपको पता है differently abled children के साथ tackle करना कितना challenging job है. And I think the visually challenged teachers here will be seconding this opinion. कितना challenging होता है, कितना frustrating होता है, because to get your word to them, it's really frustrating. So you know what she said to me, कि जब भी मुझे बहुत गुस्सा आता है या बहुत frustration होता है, अच्छा वहां पर क्योंकि बाहर की कंट्रीज में थोड़ा ये लेवरेज होता है कि you just the students are in the room, you call any other teacher to just attend the class for 5-10 minutes, I'm taking off. And she says that मैं वॉशरूम जाकर, या वहां पर बकायदा टीचर्स के रेस्ट रूम होते हैं, उसका भी कॉन्सेप्ट है पीछे कि why do we have rest rooms for teachers in school institutions? Because they need to take time off just to clear their head. She said मैं वो जहाँ जाकर वहां पर I used to scream, मतलब मैं चीखती थी ताकि मैं अपने जो भी पेंट अप मेरे इमोशन से I just let it out. And she says the moment she did it, इतनी रिलैक्स होती थी. Then when she came in the class, she started afresh explaining them, interacting with them lovingly. And because टीचर के लिए वो
रेस्ट रूम यहाँ के लिए भी रिकमेंड करिए मैम
जी,
रेस्ट रूम्स यहाँ के लिए भी रिकमेंड करिए आप.
बिल्कुल करिए. हमारे डिपार्टमेंट में भी आप लोगों के जहां पर भी we are working with children, we are working in a very stressful situation, we need to cool out. तो वो रेस्ट रूम है जहाँ पर कुछ नहीं, वीडियो गेम्स भी रखे हुए, you play a video game for some time, just ease out, just release your stress and then you start afresh.
We desperately need that.
We need that, exactly, I agree. ये होना चाहिए बिल्कुल, because see हमें अपना mental state, this is what I'm talking about, ये जो flipping हो रही है ना अब, ये बहुत हमारे अंदर बहुत ज्यादा होने लगी, इसको कंट्रोल करना भी हमें बहुत जरूरी है. And coming to what Razia ma'am said, because that's the last question I was attending to, she talked about visually challenged to make them interested in science and things like that. See, altogether, मैं तो ये कहूँगी Razia ma'am, when you start right from teaching the children right from the primary level till the secondary, we have to, देखिए visually challenged है उनके लिए, for them hearing and tactile, touching, that is the only sense organ that they're very good at, right? So we have to have those kind of a teaching aids which are actually helping them understand. And देखिए role model होना एक as a science teacher, आप खुद enthusiastic होके motivate करके बच्चों को जब आप पढ़ाएंगे with your story, with your storytelling, with some art integrated projects. Okay, now puppets they cannot see, but puppet like voice you can create and you can make them interested. Because आज के जो बच्चे they want lot of choices. जैसे कैफेटेरिया में जाते हैं ना, बहुत सी चीजें हों, and अपनी choice के हिसाब से, अपने educational need के हिसाब से they need to get satisfied. So you have to find the key area. Where are the students interested in? कुछ audio सुनना चाहते हैं, आजकल तो आपके you search on the Google, you'll find a lot of audio clips also. इसमें आपके बहुत अच्छे explanation है, बहुत अच्छे motivational speeches है regarding science. You can make them hear, then you can have a discussion on that. है ना, तो ये सब चीजें हैं that धीरे-धीरे we can make them. I know they have a lot of challenging situation in their hand, and जो partially blind है उनके लिए हम अलग treatment देंगे. Who can see with the help of some basic thick glasses or some kind of a lens or something like that. Unke liye we'll give another kind of a provision for them, right? See, reading material hona and material se inspire hona, in दोनों के बीच में हमें connect करना बहुत जरूरी है. And I'm sure inshallah, because जैसे मैं देखती हूँ ना कि आजकल because thanks to ICT और जो हम लोगों की training हो रही है और हम लोगों का जो mindset बदल रहा है, that's very important. We are ready to adapt and adopt anything in the class for the benefit of the children, and that's a good thing. We are becoming lifelong learners. So I think I hope that answers my questions to you. Anybody else?
अस्सलाम वालेकुम मैम, आई वुड लाइक टू आस्क कि मैम जिस तरह से हम लोगों के यहाँ स्टूडेंट्स की काउंसलिंग होती है, जिस तरह से हम टीचर्स की भी किसी न किसी तरह से ट्रेनिंग करते रहते हैं, हम पेरेंट्स को क्यों नहीं काउंसिल करते हैं? आई थिंक इट्स क्वाइट इम्पोर्टेंट.
ये जो आपने जो सवाल पूछा ना, एक्चुअली दैट वाज द लास्ट पार्ट ऑफ माय लेक्चर रिगार्डिंग काउंसलिंग, व्हिच आई स्किप क्योंकि आप लोगों के साथ इतना इंटरैक्टिव सेशन हो रहा था. बट इट्स ट्रू. देखिए, एक तो काउंसलिंग का जो हमारे अंदर बहुत बुरा मिसकंसेप्शन है कि मैं काउंसलर के पास जा रही हूँ मतलब देयर इज समथिंग रॉन्ग विद मी. ये जो कॉन्सेप्ट है ना, ये हटाना बहुत जरूरी है. एवरीबडी नीड्स काउंसलिंग एट एनी स्टेज ऑफ देयर लाइफ. होता है, हर इंसान को होता है. व्हेन इट कम्स टू देयर रिलेशनशिप, वी डोंट हैव गुड मैरिज काउंसलर्स एज वेल. बड़े अफसोस से कहना पड़ता है कि वी डोंट हैव गुड मैरिज काउंसलर्स. पहले क्या होता था कि हमारी फैमिली में इतने वाइज, इतने एक्सपीरियंस अडल्ट्स होते थे कि हमें कभी काउंसलिंग, और वो भी काउंसलिंग ही करते थे, देखा जाए वो भी काउंसलिंग करते थे. दे वर नॉट प्रोफेशनल काउंसलर्स, बट they imbibed all the qualities of a counselor. आज क्या होता है, एक तो दूरियां ही इतनी हो गई हैं कि हम अगर कोई कहे हमसे कि हम किसी अपने रिश्तेदार में कोई फलां के पास जाएं to discuss our problems, we will never do that. Why? Because we'll never feel comfortable with that. And the same way with our children also. Why do they not find good models for counselors as well? पेरेंट्स से डरते हैं डिस्कस करने से, टीचर से डरते हैं डिस्कस. टीचर भी अपनी प्रॉब्लम्स अपने जो क्लोज फ्रेंड्स हैं वर्क प्लेस में उनसे तो डिस्कस कर लेंगे, बट दे आर सो स्केयर्ड टू डिस्कस विद द हेड ऑफ द डिपार्टमेंट. मेरी फ्लॉ पता चल जाएगा, मेरी कमी पता चल जाएगी, लाइक आई एम नॉट एबल टू हैंडल वेल. तो हो सकता है जो आप फील कर रहे हैं वही एग्जैक्टली दूसरा आपका कोलीग भी फील कर रहा है. regarding any particular child also. Plus, जो आप काउंसलिंग की बात कर रहे हैं, पेरेंट्स शुड आल्सो बी काउंसल्ड. हम पेरेंट्स को क्यों नहीं इन्वॉल्व करते? कितनी दूरियां हैं. अच्छा, टीचर्स भी घबराते हैं कि प्लीज पीटीएम हो रही है, जल्दी से पीटीएम खत्म हो, let us discuss the report card, grades and everything. Let them have a satisfied and happy, let them go. हम साथ डिस्कस करना ही नहीं चाहते वो कनेक्शन, you know, because if parents they start getting involved in a teaching learning process, then we get scared. It's like, you know, infringement of our privacy, है ना? ये एहसास होने लगता है हम कि नहीं, there too much involvement हो रहा है. मगर अभी मुझे जो लेटली जो मुझे ये एक फील आई है, क्योंकि अब व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप भी होता है, मैं भी अपनी बेटी के व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप में देखती हूँ, पेरेंट्स का एक अलग ग्रुप बनेगा, टीचर का एक अलग रहेगा, पेरेंट्स का, एंड द काइंड ऑफ कॉन्वर्सेशन दे हैव इन दैट ग्रुप, नाउ दे आर रियली कंसर्न. एक एक चीज पूछना, एक दूसरे से टो लेना कि ये क्या हो रहा है, वैसे क्या हो रहा है, मैम ने तुम्हें क्या पूछा, क्या जवाब दिया, मेरी बेटी के लिए क्या कहा, यू नो, they have all that kind of information, keeping them well informed. That's good. You should, at least you should be concerned. ये नहीं कि be concerned about your पड़ोसी's daughter. At least अपने बच्चे के बारे में आप concerned रहिएगा. And try to likewise. And जब आप concerned रहेंगे, जब आप अपने बच्चों की चीजों से related concerned होंगे, वही तो topics होंगे कि आप अपने टीचर से, उनके टीचर से डिस्कस कर सकते हैं. माँ बाप को खुद नहीं पता है, मेरा बच्चा क्लास में उसके कोई दोस्त नहीं है, पेरेंट्स डोंट नो दैट. अब वो टीचर्स आके पूछ रहे हैं कि ये बताइए क्लास में सही है, ठीक है, हाँ ठीक है. तो टीचर कहती है कि नहीं, इसका तो कोई दोस्त ही नहीं, किसी से ना बात करता है, बहुत सेक्लूडेड रहता है, क्या बात है. लेकिन बहुत सी चीजें, उसके जो रूट कॉजेस, यू विल बी सो सरप्राइज्ड कहाँ से कहाँ निकल के आते हैं उसके रूट कॉजेस, और हम क्या उसका ट्रीटमेंट दे रहे हैं, और कॉज कहाँ से निकल कर आ रहे हैं, राइट? ये सब चीजें हैं. आई नो दिस इज अ वेरी लॉन्ग लेक्चर, लाइक आई कैन गो ऑन एंड ऑन. इंटरेस्टिंग आल्सो, आप लोगों से मिलकर तो बहुत सी चीजें, नई चीजें मुझे पता चली. एनी मोर क्वेश्चंस? आई थिंक देयर आर टाइम्स ओवर. कुछ और आप पूछना चाहते हैं? बिकॉज आपके पूछने से सबके जो मसले मसाइल, उनके भी जहन में कुछ ना कुछ चलता रह रहा होगा. आई एम श्योर आई विल बी एबल टू solve it. Parents are more concerned nowadays, but lack of communication is there. True. Concerned है, मगर there is a lack of communication. अच्छा, एक और चीज जो मुझे एहसास होता है, I think आप भी agree करेंगे, the moment a teacher starts talking about the child, parents बहुत defensive होने लगते. अरे नहीं मैम, ऐसे तो नहीं हो सकता, बिल्कुल नहीं, आपकी गलत फहमी है, नहीं, मतलब वही ना सुनने की काबिलियत. इससे पता चलता है, देखिए, इससे पता चलता है कि जो कम्युनिकेशन स्किल में इफेक्टिव लिसनिंग क्यों इंपॉर्टेंट है. जब माँ बाप खुद, जब टीचर बस शुरू कर रहे हैं बोलना, उसी वक्त आपने बहुत डिफेंसिव मोड में आपने कह दिया, नहीं मैम ऐसे कुछ नहीं है, आपको गलत फहमी है, दे जस्ट शट यू ऑफ, फिर आप कैसे कम्युनिकेट करेंगे? दैट इफेक्टिव लिसनिंग इज इंपॉर्टेंट. वर्कशॉप होना चाहिए, बिल्कुल होना चाहिए. यू शुड इनवाइट एजुकेटर्स, रिसोर्स पर्सन इन योर स्कूल, इनवाइट द पेरेंट्स. चाहे I know to be difficult because सब कुछ एक साथ करने, assemble करने के लिए, but some or the other we have to chalk out. इस तरह के ऑनलाइन प्लेटफॉर्म हम यूज कर सकते हैं. बिकॉज देखिए, कुछ भी कहे, टीचर्स आर ऑल्सो पेरेंट्स, है ना, हमारे भी तो बच्चे हैं. इवन वी आर बिहेविंग एंड वी आर रॉकिंग इन द वेरी सेम बोट. We can understand all that. Anything else? Okay, thank you so much for such
Thank
an
you so much,
insightful,
ma'am.
मतलब आप लोगों से
Thank you so much.
बहुत अच्छे.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.